AOC finally responded proudly concerning a high school yearbook photo that proves she grew up in a wealthy suburb. She said, "See, I told you I went to high school."
This is ridiculous.
Megyn Kelly didn't just respond to AOC's latest political moment, she broke it down with sharp observations and pointed commentary. Instead of turning it into a spectacle, she highlighted the contrast between AOC's media-friendly style.
And I can tell you, I know that when I was waitressing and struggling to put food on the table, for a while there, I did. I tried to stop caring. I tried to just keep my head down, work my shifts, and accept that this is just how things are. But that is no way to live, Arizona. It's no way to live. What I do know is that we don't have to live like this. And in fact, we cannot live like this anymore.
And the realities of governing. From social media-ready reactions to oversimplified economic soundbites, Kelly unpacked the gap between presentation and substance. The analysis hit hard enough that even AOC's most confident supporters were left rethinking her approach.
Nonsense from like AOC that he should be impeached is just absurd. Absurd. There's no... Okay, get back to me when you've read the Constitution or get a law degree, because you sound like an... There is absolutely no ground to impeach the president. He 100% was within his constitutional authority and his congressionally authorized authority to do what he did on Saturday.
AOC. What? She's kind of fun in a silly but earnest, wrong but adorable way. She's like your daughter when she comes back from her first year at Brown, full of half-baked, half opinions, in need of some gentle, patient deprogramming. But people have to realize new faces doesn't mean new ideas. Drives me crazy. AOC has never introduced a fresh idea or issue in her life.
Gutfeld jumped in next, wasting no time before putting his comedic spin on AOC's public persona. Just mentioning her name set the tone. He approached her political style, the way a comedian approaches an endlessly entertaining character. To him, AOC wasn't just a member of Congress. She was a symbol of how the performative side of politics has evolved in the social media.
She's like an 80-year-old leftist in a used bookstore. I mean, she may look fresh, but she's as stale as an abandoned futon on the street. It's like, I listened to her, I go, I heard that at Berkeley in 1983. So their problem is, and the reason why they don't have any ideas is they operate on half opinions. Like what?
Opened by teasing AOC's flair for turning casual live streams into high big moment monologues. Gutfeld joked that she could walk into a room full of experts and come out with a new list of trending buzzwords, offering ideas that sounded polished but lacked grounding. He compared her political proposals to reheated leftovers, warm enough to get attention, but not quite ready to serve. 4.
So by now you heard that AOC, among others, were arrested last night. She truly is an American hero. It was brutal, taken out in cuffs. Well, technically, her shirt had cuffs. Maybe French cuffs, as she did surrender without...
Greg then focused on her flair for drama, saying that AOC approached Capitol Hill like it was part newsroom, part runway. Every disagreement, he teased, became an opportunity for an emotional highlight reel. He compared her legislative style to a reality TV group challenge: big reactions, big confidence, and a storyline that didn't always match the results.
As for whether it's a good idea, that's a debate we should be having. And look, if we could get congressional approval of the specific action, fine, I'm okay with that too. If you want to bring it to Congress, go ahead and see how that goes. I don't think it's necessary, but...
Then came the policy critiques. Gutfeld humorously argued that some of AOC's proposals seemed more aspirational than actionable, joking that parts of the Green New Deal felt like they were written during a late-night brainstorming session. He compared her policy-making process to assembling furniture without instructions, plenty of ambition, but not always the clearest direction.
Let's do it. What happens? You have repeat criminals wreaking havoc. What if we have sanctuary cities? Hey, let's do it. What happens? Finding sanctuary, safe haven. What if we give trans rights? Oh, you just ruin women's sports. You ruin safe spaces. You make kids' lives hell. But
he also took aim at her social media presence, saying she produced more online content than many professional influencers. Greg imagines staff meetings filled with filters, slogans, and plans for the next viral moment. He teased her for adding dramatic flair to votes she opposed, turning legislative disagreements into emotional performances. Megyn Kelly, meanwhile, approached her critique differently. Sharp, calm, and analytical. While Greg brought humor, she brought precision. Kelly pointed out how AOC often delivered passionate speeches that leaned more on emotion than on structure. To her, AOC's commentary sometimes sounded like a motivational slogan being stretched into a full speech. 7.
There's a beautiful little town called Yorktown Heights in Westchester. It's not the fanciest of Westchester towns, but it ain't the Bronx by any measure. And the reason this is relevant is because a congresswoman who you may know as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been telling us for years that she is from the Bronx. And recently she had a fight with President Trump over tweet, text, truth, whatever. And she played tough and said, "Oh, don't you mess with me. I'm a Bronx girl, and we eat Queens boys for breakfast."
Kelly highlighted AOC's tendency to frame political disagreements in moral terms, treating opponents as villains instead of participants in a debate. She argued that AOC leaned heavily into performance politics, live streaming trending moments, and made-for-camera reactions. Kelly also questioned the consistency of AOC's environmental messaging, contrasting it with her frequent travel and public appearances. Megyn said AOC often turned every news headline into a personal mission, making even routine policy discussions feel like dramatic showdowns.
But if her pants had cuffs, she would have pretended to be in leg irons too. But real handcuffs, not so much. But that didn't stop her from pretending, and I hate it when people do this to me. When I ask people to put on handcuffs and they say, "I'll just pretend I have them on," I'd be like, "Sure, and I'll pretend to pay you after."
Megyn playfully joked about AOC's repeated references to her past jobs, suggesting she often presented them as a dramatic origin story. Back with Gutfeld, he joked about AOC's media interactions, saying she sometimes treated tough questions like personal attacks. He teased her tendency to equate criticism with persecution and described her fanbase as more online than on the ground. He poked fun at the contrast between her working-class messaging and her high-profile magazine shoots, calling them bold but attention-grabbing. Choices. 9.
And respectfully, AOC, well, that's real cute, except she only lived in the Bronx until she was age 5, when at best you're in usually kindergarten, maybe first grade. And she spent the rest of her childhood, 1 through 12th grade, in Yorktown Heights, which is Westchester. And by any measure, it is richer, nicer, and more white collar than the Bronx, with all due respect to my friends in the Bronx.
Greg said AOC sometimes positioned herself as a hero in designer fashion, turning complex issues into simplified slogans. Meanwhile, Megyn focused on contradictions she saw in AOC's public positions, calling for transparency while avoiding unscripted interviews, or demanding accountability while framing herself as powerless. Kelly emphasized how AOC often turned major debates into viral sound, making big claims without the follow-through needed to turn them into policy.
Of course, AOC was mocked on social media for imitating being handcuffed, which is a change from her usually being mocked for imitating a congresswoman. That's not even close to being as disgusting as I can be. She, in fact, was gingerly escorted away to a holding area where she kept up the phony display before finally raising her fist to supporters. She then crossed her wrists behind her back, again in the faux handcuffed position. It's as tall a tale as AOC nearly.
Gutfeld mocked AOC's dramatic timing, saying emotional stories often surfaced when media attention peaked. He joked that her approach to global issues was built around emotional responses rather than detailed plans. Kelly followed by pointing out how AOC shifted from political outsider to establishment figure. While still claiming to be above the system she now helped manage, she critiqued the staged photo ops, the dramatic speeches, and the cyclical controversies that always ended with a polished statement or campaign appeal. Both hosts agreed on one thing: AOC is more than a politician. She's a brand, a highly curated, social media-powered brand, built for viral moments and eye-catching messaging. 11.
And now some of her schoolmates, separate and apart from Benny, are weighing in on her claims. I'll get to the Benny thing in one second, but there was a piece in the New York Post talking about how she's embarrassing herself. She's embarrassing herself now with this Bronx
According
girl.
Gutfeld, wrapped up by saying AOC often turns simple policy discussions into full theatrical productions, complete with emotional arcs and applause from supporters who loved the performance even if they missed the policy details. He joked about her leadership style, saying she responded to major crises with passion, but not always with preparation. Megyn Kelly ended with a sharper note. AOC's biggest challenge, she argued, wasn't her critics, it was time. Because eventually the stage lights dim, hashtags fade, and people stop asking for clever phrasing and start asking for actual results. And when that time comes, Kelly said, cameras won't be enough.